guys, Nikki here, and welcome to our Mercury Retrograde forecast. Now, I thought it would be really good to do a forecast for you guys on some more of the positive aspects of this transit, because I feel like a lot of people, they hear Mercury Retrograde and the sky's falling, we're all going to die, bad things are happening, run for the hills. And while there are some things that can be discombobulating, I don't feel like that's the entire energy of what this planetary transit has to offer. So I thought today we would go over some things that would help us in the areas of our self-growth and our forward movement and those sort of things. Now, before I start though, I thought it would be kind of important for us to know actually what this transit is about and what's going on, so that you can kind of understand why things are happening and why people are reacting sort of the way that they are. Now, Mercury will retrograde usually 3 times a year. And when that happens, retrograde means to go backwards. And the planet actually is not going backwards, but just by the way the planet trajectory is in the sky, it appears to be going backwards. And when this happens with this planet or any other planets, it is said that any energies that this planet governs are adversely affected by the transit. So, for example, Mercury is a travel and a communications planet, right? So when Mercury retrogrades, these are the 2 main areas that are affected. And it's difficult because this is like 90% of our day, right? We're communicating or we're traveling like 90% of the day. That's it. So people feel this one a little bit more intensely than some of the other ones that may be focusing kind of on other things. So that's one of the reasons people freak out. However, this planet is also really great when it's in transit because it's kind of a slowdown period. And it gives us time to pause and to think and to reflect about our lives and what we're doing and where we're going, if we're going the right direction, if we're doing things that are keeping us on track for the direction that we want to be heading, right? So I feel like there's a lot of positive things, but because people can't get past like the chaos of it and the hype of how bad it is that we don't use it to our full advantage, which is what I want to help you guys do today. So what we're going to talk about today with the cards is we're going to talk about what the theme of this retrograde is, what the growth that you're going to be experiencing or that you should be focusing on for this period is, right, what you should be working on, and then also what your focus should be, what you should be paying attention to during this retrograde in order to get the most out of it. So let's talk about these areas, and before I do, I want to kind of give you a little overall umbrella energy. You guys know I like to do that just because I like to give you as much information as possible, and also because I'm nosy, so I assume everyone else is too, right? So, and if you have the extra help, you should use it. So what's kind of going on here overall for this retrograde is your kind of ideas about kind of like societal norms and traditions and the way that you believe things to sort of be are going to be challenged a little bit. And it's going to cause some kind of confusion to you because you're going to have a hard time like wrapping your head around what's happening. And I think that's good because it's going to be challenging us. So I think what I would say about that during this time is to try to really be open-minded, because I think it's hard when we know things to be a certain way or we have certain expectations and it doesn't turn out that way. Our brain kind of explodes or melts or bends because we can't really realize that that's happening. Like that just seems so strange to us. How could that possibly be? So one of the things I think you should be paying attention to is how open-minded you are being, and try to really work on that during this transit time. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is kind of the overall theme of what this retrograde is going to be for us. And the theme that I'm seeing here too, and I know this is a scary card, but don't freak out. So this is kind of the theme. And you can see here too, there's this gentleman and he looks like he's just been completely attacked. Now, this could be how you're feeling emotionally. This could be what you feel like people are doing or people are doing to you. And I think the theme area that this relates to is that we're going to be looking at areas where things aren't going right for us, or we feel attacked, or we feel like we don't have a choice, or, we feel, just like overwhelmed, or just, oh, I can't do this anymore. Okay, well, why? Why do you feel that way? What's causing that to happen around you, and what internally are you allowing to kind of come into your space that is causing this sort of thing? So I think it's good that we're going to be kind of looking at those things. I've been doing a lot of readings lately, and this has kind of been an issue or topic that's been coming up. People are feeling really like beat up. They feel like they don't have choices. They feel like they're stuck in certain patterns. And a lot of that too goes back to here about being open-minded. A lot of times I think we place certain restrictions on ourselves based off of ideas that we have and that we think, but somebody else might not accept that idea or belief is true. I'm too old to start over and get a new job. Well, I've known people like in their 60s and 70s that have started new careers and been very successful because they believed that they could, not because they put the limitations on themselves where they kind of like got in their own way. You know what I mean? They were kind of their own worst enemy. They got in their own way and they refused to allow that to come in because it was a belief that they had. So I think that's something that we're going to be looking at this month, is why you're feeling this way and what sort of beliefs and things are getting in your way that are causing this to happen for you, right? Okay, so the next thing that we want to look at is what sort of areas should be working on growth-wise during this transit, right? During this Mercury retrograde. And I feel like you have to be okay with not always being in control or having the upper hand or having the edge on things. And I think this is a difficult one to work on because we feel better when we're in control, or when we feel like we have choices, or when we feel like we have the upper hand in the situation. But sometimes that also can do us a disservice. Having to fight for something is really important. You know, it gets your passions going. It shows you creative ways of thinking and problem solving and all these other things. And, you know, just because you don't have the upper hand doesn't mean you can't win. You know, I love a great underdog story, and I think this is about learning how to be the underdog and be successful without necessarily having all of the advantages, and showing you that you can do it and you can grow and you can start from where you are and work with what you have, and you don't have to be coming from a position of like advantage or power in order to win. So look at that as you're working on your areas of growth for this retrograde. The last thing that we want to take a look at is kind of what you should be focusing on during this time, right? What should you be focusing on? And I know this one looks a little bit gnarly too, but it's not. It's reversed, so it's a little bit better. And what I'm getting for this card is what you should be focusing on is just to give yourself some time, right? Things change in time. And sometimes it just takes a time for things to develop a little bit. And so you need to be giving yourself that. Another thing that's an energy of this particular card here is it's a card of healing, right? When we've gone through something really traumatic or something really tough, like kind of how this card looks like it feels, that if you give yourself time to heal and you work on your healing process and you focus on the things that you need to be doing in order to heal, whether you need to be focusing on self-care, whether you need to be focused on something medically, whether you need to be focusing on something like mentally upstairs and the way that your brain is firing on all cylinders, you know, whatever it is, it's the focus this month should be working on your healing from the situations that you're dealing with that are currently making you feel like you have a disadvantage, or you're at a disadvantage, or are making you feel just not happy or bad. So there's some really good things I think that we can be working on during this transit. I hope that you take the time and the energy and the space for yourself to do that, because you're definitely worth it, and I believe in you. So hopefully this was helpful and you guys have some direction and some explanations and some better understanding of what happens during this time. If you have any questions, of course, please let me know. I'm always here to help, and if you need a reading, I've got you.